Hello and welcome back. And tonight I wanted to actually speak a little bit about condemnation and the importance of us understanding that none of us have to live in condemnation. So, for those of you who don't know what condemnation is kind of, I like to call it the layered guilt, prolonged guilt, whereby you take on the ideal that you deserve suffering, you deserve uh, to be treated a certain way, you deserve this and you deserve that. And again, it's always generally connected to your past, something maybe, like it's for instance, if a woman chose to be in a relationship that maybe everyone told her, he's no good or whatever, and she chose to get in a relationship, it's kind of when the resolve that she has at the end of that relationship says, well, I chose to do it, so since I chose to do it, is I got to put up with whatever that the consequences of that is. And so what happens is, instead of holding people accountable for their actions, oftentimes we find ourselves in a position to where we're actually suffering, you know what I'm saying, within ourselves, or kind of not holding people accountable for their actions. And the odd thing that I noticed that happened, as always, I'll be transparent with myself, is I found myself, even while being mistreated or, put in negative situations, that I found myself always like my brain was so focused on, well, how do I make this thing work for everybody? Or how do I make this so it's not so bad for them, even though they're the cause of their own consequences. And if you're not careful, you can spend your entire life condemning yourself, believing because you made a decision to be in a relationship with someone that you now have to deal with the consequences of making that decision. Now, am I saying it's okay to just willy-nilly jump into a relationship with somebody and not vet it and not think it out? I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, if that happens, you need to be clear about what you have. You need to be clear about the relationship. You need to be clear about if, on the basis of what you're going to have to deal with, what that all entails. And if you're not fully aware of what that is, you need to make sure that you're finding out what those things are. If people have issues, if they have mental issues, if they have just any kind of issue, depression, if they may deal with laziness, they may deal with all sorts of things. People just have different quirks or whatever. You may meet somebody that's just not a happy person, but for whatever reason they're attracted and they like you or whatever. But in these instances where you take on a relationship, and for most of us, it's unbeknownst to us who they really are until you're already deep in, and you're in. And once you get deep in, it's kind of like you start to see little flags and things like that. My goal tonight is just to let you know that there is no fixing someone else's issue. And if you're in a relationship with someone that has a lot of issues, being a partner and or in relationship with them does not require you to fix the problem for them. Supporting them as they acquire help, supporting them as they attempt to change the negative behaviors or change whatever the shortcomings or whatever may be, that's one thing. But taking it on and trying to help them fix it, that's just not your job. The other part is, if you find yourself, and say for instance you marry somebody and things happen, bad times could have came. COVID was major, right? And a lot of people, the statistics for physical abuse has gone up, since COVID, because a lot of people, that, lost their jobs, they're having financial problems. It just exasperated issues that were probably already present. And, sometimes when you have a two-parent earning family and both people are gone to work, when they both actually have to be in the house with each other and actually deal with the kids and deal with those different stresses on top of, there being a strain in the finances and all these other things, sometimes that brings out, those little dark places that, most of the time people's, for some people work is their out, for some people, being away from the family, that's their out. And so, they have tolerance, some people have very low tolerance level for, the whole family life and what all that may entail and the pressures and the stresses of life. And so you add a little stress to that and box them in a house for more than a few days, you may have some problems. So, I really just want to stress to you that, if that's you and you're dealing with that, I'm not advocating you leave the relationship. However, obviously, if it is a physical abusive relationship, yes, I am advocating that you get out of that. If it's an emotional abusive relationship, I'm advocating that you seek out counseling first. And in seeking out counseling, you need to determine, key factors in regards to that relationship. Is it worth it, right, to stay in it? And is this a temporary thing with this person? Or is this going to be a long-term thing? And if it's been a long-term thing and you've been dealing with it, understand, even as a psychiatrist, even a psychiatrist cannot fix a problem for someone. Not a psychiatrist, not a therapist, not a counselor. We don't fix problems for people. We assist people in strategizing solutions and help them be accountable for working out, utilizing the strategies and the tools to work out issues. However, the work is not done by us. We kind of exist in the operation and working it out. We're kind of side by side helping people push that and work that forward. So it's not a therapist. So if it's not a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor's job to do it, or a pastor's job, right, then to think it's your job is just putting way too much pressure on yourself. And it's just, that's not what we were put here for. And understand that's not love, even though oftentimes that's what we tell ourselves, oh, I'm in love and this is what you do when you're in love. But you got to recognize when, I think I taught in another video about teaching people how to treat you and teaching people how to communicate with you based on what you do. And so you have to remember certain people, particularly those who find themselves particularly in distress by way of their own actions, they seek out constant ways to pull you back in. So it's just like, I know it's a common term. People call people narcissists and things like that or whatever. And to some degree, everybody has some form of narcissistic behavior or whatever may possess that. But in particularly where it plays out in these scenarios is when a person just refuses to acknowledge their own place, right, and their own responsibility based on what they, have done or chosen not to do, and how that could have affected and affected everyone else. And instead of owning that and possibly changing that, they find ways to kind of just exasperate and flip it, like they call it gaslighting or whatever. So it's kind of like, well, you did X, Y, and Z, and as a consequences of X, Y, and Z, I chose to do this. And instead of accepting the fact that they chose to do what they did and did what they did, they then want to hold you accountable and make you feel like you're wrong because you're now making a decision to say, I choose myself. So that's exactly what I want to deal with, that condemnation. That is exactly what it is. It's like the overriding of guilt. Like you've already guilted yourself because you made the decision. And then some kind of way they were able to say something to you, probably gaslighted you. And then once you got gaslighted, then all of a sudden now you condemning yourself. But now you're in this overload of how do I fix this? Or instead of being concerned about yourself, you're being concerned about how you can help them cope with whatever it is, or that whole, not worrying about if they do something or if life goes bad for them or something, again, This whole thing is about releasing yourself from condemnation. Okay? If you made a bad choice and you got in a bad relationship, or you got in a relationship that started out good, it went bad, whatever the case may be, listen, you don't have time to think about and worry about what was. You got to stay present right now. And so you got to determine for your own self what your life needs to look like, what you want and what you desire for your life. And if within that, this person does not fit into that, then you got to make some serious decisions, whether that means to release them from your life. And if you have released them from your life and you're still dealing with condemnation and you're still going over and over in your mind, because this is the game that our mind plays on us, particularly as women. Like I told you before, melanin holds on to the good, the bad, the indifferent, everything. And we take everything to heart, even when sometimes we're walking around like, we don't, but we do. And we carry everything. And then as a result, everything sets up within our body, particularly within our womb. So we got to start releasing this condemnation. We got to start releasing the guilt. We got to stop having people gaslight us and then turning against ourselves and further, condemning ourselves and making ourselves feel bad for things that actually have absolutely nothing to do with us. So again, if this is you and you're out there, you're feeling condemned because, maybe you did do something, or maybe something happened or whatever, but you've apologized and you've tried to get it right. Hey, at some point you got to forgive yourself and let it go and move forward. And if you're on the other side of that and you've been faithful and you've done all you could do to try to support a person and they've made these kind of choices, and for sure, like, hey, you've done everything you can, don't take on that guilt. And don't be the obsessed fixer trying to fix the situation for other people. It's not your job, okay? Help is out there more than ever right now. There's plenty of help out there for people who are dealing with mental issues. Encouraging them to go get assistant and talk to the counselor. Go sit on the couch. They need to go get on the couch. If you need to go get on the couch, go get on the couch. Go get on the couch. Talk about it. Think about it, release it. You know what I'm saying? Renew your mind, get yourself back up and going, because again, you got a whole future waiting for you on the other side of this. And if you don't take time to take care of this, if it's this person this time, it'll be another person the next time. So we want to nip these type of things in the bud. So no more condemning yourself, okay, because of the past mistakes, bad relationships. And the best way to stop someone from gaslighting you is to know the truth that you know. And the only way you know that is you assess your own situation and know exactly where you stand in the situation. And again, if you messed up and you done something wrong, admit it, get past it, forgive yourself, but don't let anybody else hold your past over you. And if someone is locked in that and they're holding their mistakes, that they've done against you over themselves, and they're kind of in that block space, just know, you can't pull them out. All you can let them know is, hey, I forgive you, and don't jump back in it with them. Like when they're in that bad space, remove yourself from them. If it means you got to leave and go do something else, or whatever it means you got to get off the phone, don't sit in that place with them, because that is just negative energy and they're just trying to pass it off to you, and you don't have time for that. So as always, remember, we win from within. I hope this helps you. Again, there's therefore no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. So no more condemnation. Have a wonderful evening and look forward to seeing you next time.